there's a trend which some people have observed, and it is that God has been taken out of the U.S. School curriculum, and they attribute all what is happening, uh, the shootings and all the heartlessness, uh, they attribute it to the fact that God has been taken out of the educational system. Uh, there are no prayers. There are maybe no readings from the Bible and all the like. So, Duane, what would you say if about what would you like to say about uh, religions in or prayers and all the like in public schools, or the absence thereof? And do you think uh, if they know somewhere in this and it is prescribed by the authorities, so do you think uh, it is okay? Because they want to give the impression that they want to let children grow up in a neutral with a state of mind and be able to choose for themselves later in life. So what do you say about this?
Well, from all that you've referred to and getting to the idea of neutral or neutrality, there's no such thing. They just market that. So again, the idea that schools have or lack the religious idea is a fallacy, first of all. It's just that people don't see what's going on. It's already there. The educational systems and the political system have been set up by the sacrificial religions. This is what people don't, this is what they don't see. They think that there's a difference. Oh, this is politics and this is religion. No, it's all came from the same source. And it's come to the point in this day and age, like the two-party system, it looks like that there's two different parties going, but it's all the same system. There's just one system, and that system controls everything on this world. And whether people agree or not, still controls it. So the ideas that they promote, they don't care, overall. It's just people personally all of a sudden get caught up in their personal lives. Oh, I would rather have my child have something nice from the Bible or God, and let's do some prayers, and so let's make the world a better place. That sounds cute. It's a cliche. That's as far as it goes. It's all about control. Overall, the world controllers, they don't care either way because they have so many sources to fool people with. It's all foolishness. They fool everybody with everything all the time because they play all sides. And so people leap back and forth. Oh, we should have prayer in school. Oh, we shouldn't have it. We want to keep church and state separate. These are ideas that they've created to just keep people deceived and mixed up. All of it comes from the same nonsense. It's all the same. It's all indoctrination. No matter what words or ideas you get, good, bad, or indifference. Again, it's just like Harry on stage or the politicians up there talking or the Queen or the Pope. It's all the same indoctrinated nonsense. Life is bigger. It's learning to see reality for what it is, the true reality, not the secondary or agreed upon reality that goes nowhere. But again, it's choice. It's all choice for everybody. So I personally don't get into these issues when people make statements and say this or that about what they're doing. I go, that's fine, have fun. It's none of my business. It's none of my business that people drive through McDonald's and eat their carcinogenic hamburgers. It's fine, have fun. It's none of my business. what people do. I don't like to see them polluting the air and whatever, but I can't stop that either. So I have to deal with the world as it is. And so it's not about, trying to make things right here, because this is, it's a junkyard. And, you've got all this stuff going on, and pick your part, whatever you need, to survive for a little bit longer. But that's really what it is. And so I see the value in sincerely putting the whole of life first, proving it and focusing on that, etc. And that's not easy for most people. Yes, of course you have your job and whatever, but again, it's kind of like being in the National Guard. When you're called upon, whether you're working or whatever, it's time to stand up and do it. And so again, most people, their personal life comes first, and it's like, well, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to get on the Skype or whatever. I got to take my wife bowling. We have to do this, and again, it's this passive state. Yeah, well, that's why eventually I left the families and all that at the best of times, because you know what? It was going nowhere. Finally, giving all these people a chance to see something and be a part of something, doing something, that makes sense of a lifestyle to procure into something that does make sense. Well, they weren't interested. So I left and I let them be. It's their life, and I hardly have any of these relationships anymore, basically zero, and that's the choice, and even like past lifetimes. So, what is promoted here with any of the systems or in the public, each person decides, it's their right to decide. But especially the way the world is today, it's just marketing ploy after marketing ploy appears. You've got so many, and they're covering everything. What they do is they take statistics of what people agree to. They see this. They've got all this through their computers. And what they do is they create marketing ploy in that area, and that area, and that area. That's why they created Facebook. That's why they created all these things. That's why Microsoft created Skype, so they could hear all your conversations. It wasn't so that everybody could have fun talking to each other. It was really motivated to hear the so-called secrets of others, because they're so insecure, they need to hear what everybody else is thinking too. This is what we're dealing with. And so they promote this insecurity. So everybody's insecure, and everybody's afraid to take the risk and, experience reality for what it is, and it clears the way. But again, so this is the world. And I'm focusing on a whole lot more. And there's a few people that know, and they can decide too. So we'll see what happens, Charles, but the world itself is going to do what it does. So again, I suggest that people at least take the time in some way, promote the Real Guides, Rebazar especially, and because he heads all this on the real side with the Real Guides, and that's something. So other than that, each person decides. The ideas we have personally, what is the value of these things when the whole of life, it becomes evident once you take the time to continually see it every moment, not just as a passing thought, but really every single moment. But that's a choice. Yeah. And that's not wisdom. It just makes sense with the whole of life, because it's an isness to see that and do that accordingly. Makes sense to align your life with that. Just like the birds, they do what they do. They don't have 9-to-5 jobs and all this stuff. And so again, yes, we're caught up in the system, so we can refigure our positions with the system too if we decide. So step at a time, we'll see what happens, Charles. So other than that, what's going on with all these things? The marketing ploy is only going to get thicker and worse, and people more confused, and especially the 5 and 6G and whatever else is coming. It's going to make sure that it's going to embed everybody with these ideas, so that they, in no way can they not obey the system. Yeah, real challenge here.
Okay, let's talk about about some of your actions and your words. You said one time, or on many occasions, that you not have any restrictions on what you have created on your books and all the like, and that if anyone wants to appropriate them, let him do so. You don't have time uh, for pursuing or affirming that you're the one who was written the books or pass across the message through the books, and anyone is free to take them and use for what he wants to, even without acknowledging borrowings. Duane, I want to ask you, what is your position, official? Not, let me not say officially. What is your what has prompted you to talk like this? And I remember that when Paul Tuche was here, when he was doing his compilations, he was accused of plagiarism or violating intellectual property rights. Now you have brought to the forefront the idea of the all. The all is the totality of life, which we all want to dwell in. So, what is your position in relation to with the all is in mind and the social custom of intellectual property rights, copyright laws, and other ownership protection laws? What is your opinion about this in the new nowness, as seen against the backdrop of the all is for all?
Well, realistically, if when people come to their senses, they'll see that because of the restrictions, which are the laws, the rules, and regulations that have been created around the ideas that of plagiarism. I get that, okay, but realistically, according to the law that has been created because of that, everybody is plagiarizing everybody else because we all use the same words. We really do. The this, the that's, the does, the who, the where, the whys, whatever. We're all constantly using these same words. And so, I mean, where does plagiarism start and where does it stop? So the issue isn't plagiarism. The idea of plagiarism and how it's defined accordingly is simply another control factor to confuse people. Okay, that's all. So it's just, again, it's a funny world, and yeah, realistically, what I'm doing, I'm using words that already exist. I didn't invent these words. I invent a few from the words that I've come to know. But the words were already here. Someone else invented the language. I'm just using the language. I'm just very real with what I'm doing. I'm just using the language. And people can say, well, you created this or that. No, I'm just using the language to share my experiences. That's what's very real about what I'm doing. Very, very honorable, really, very upfront and sincere, and makes sense. Other people take the words that have already been created before, and then all of a sudden they make them into sacred text or things, like in the computer world or the government world. All of a sudden, these put together words on documents are top secret. Okay. And so again, people trying to, in some way in their minds, because of how the systems have been created according to the legal system, that no, you have the right to protect these words that you put on paper that create these documents that you've decided, and they're private and whatever. I get that too. Okay, so I'm not here. I use the same words, but I'm not here to steal information that other people have, because it's just words. And I don't know how the computer, for the most part, how the computer systems work and all that data that they collect that's top secret, and what the governments do. Fine, they can have it. It's just, again, it's just words. It's the same words we all use, and they're rearranged in a certain way, and all of a sudden, whoa, everybody, stands back, and it's like, well, don't touch that. It's top secret. Only certain people, you have to have a certain pay level to understand that. Again, they've created this system to where the so-called good guys chase the bad guys, but the real bad guys are the so-called good guys chasing everybody else, creating the system. So this is where it's become so nuts and confused. This is what happened to Atlantis. And how it's self-destructed. Now, there's been many civilizations on this planet and others self-destructing, and this is what this one's doing too. So who's paying attention? You see, it's not about the words that I use. It's about what I'm sharing, okay, and what I see, and this is where an individual has to learn to read between the lines. So I don't care if people use the same words. However they use it, they can have them. If the words are helpful in some way to people, that's all that matters. That's the idea. It's just like anything overall, and there should be no diseases or things like this on the earth, but there are, because they've all been created. And so the medical advice of just even eating fruits and vegetables and whatever, people share that, and people. So what they do is, many people, they take these things and then they remanufacture them into products, and then they claim that they're theirs, when really it all came from the natural environment, which is fine. And so some people do well, a lot of other people starve. And so here's the imbalance that takes place here. And it's rather humorous, but again, it's people do have the right to do whatever they want, but they're doing it according to the system that controls them, and thinking that they're independent, doing something unique because they've figured it out. And really, it's not so. Life is an isness. You have to see it. Once you stand in that, it's everything. You don't need any of this anymore. You've went through the baby diaper stage of the elementary creation, cause and effect ideas, but until then, people are wrapped up in it. So I'm just here sharing, and so whatever people take of what I do or twist it or whatever, that's their choice. They're just words. They're just ideas. What I see is my intent, and for them to, deal with their own personal mind and figure it out and get to the real intent and stand real with that. Well, that's a lot, because again, that personal self comes in, and people are constantly confused by the systems, thinking that, well, gee, there must be something workable here. Well, actually, when you look at the birds, they don't use any of it. None of it. Zero. Okay? Does that give you a hint? And so that's how real it is. But we have to deal with it. We're thinking that, oh, we need this, we need that. No, we've been seduced to think that we do, so we've agreed to it. And that becomes our DNA. Yeah. Yeah, it moves along those lines. And so here we are. And me too, I admit it. But it's okay, because now you can start a new journey to better recognize, instead of just following ideas and personalities and doctrines and thinking that that's going to take care of things, and beliefs and all these things. These are just ideas that have been created to control others. And at a certain point, we need to be controlled. Paul created certain things that were restriction because people needed to be herded in a particular way at that time. But now it's a new day, and I'm saying you don't have to be. But now you got to take the time to figure it out, and people have been herded for so long. It's like a person that's been in prison for 50 years, and now the day comes where he's let out, and you know what? He'll walk 10 feet out, and he'll turn right around and walk back in, because his mind and emotions and his personal self have been so subjected to a particular routine or place. And this is like cats that are territorial that, you know what, won't leave lots of times. And so I get it. I see that. And so this is where, again, you got to take the risk. But this is where I'm not concerned. I don't want to be concerned over this silliness. Some people do. They, if I even refer to them, like I have in the past, like Ekankar, like Joni's takeover Ekankar, where she's, even Kelsey's got them, where they get notices from their lawyers, defending her takeover position. She's taken it over. She's subdued everybody, so she wants to make sure that nobody interferes. And the same thing with Bardenkar and Denami and all the other ones. Gotten letters from them too, because what they have is very special and sacred, and it's only for their so-called believers. We'll just use that idea, which is fine. So, I did what I did. I went on my little adventure like Robin Hood and let them know, but you know what? They don't want to know because they like being indoctrinated with their words in a particular way. And so I already know that they're using the words that I've put together in a particular way. And that's fine. That's fine. They're just words. And they're not my words. These are words that were already here, and I didn't make them up. I make up new words because they more so reference the isness to move people along there. But again, people will be confused by that too, because they have to deal with their literal self. So again, Charles, yes, thank you for asking, because people need to know. And so if they take a few minutes, but it's not going to be through reading the books. It's not going to be through listening to what I'm saying or anybody else saying. It's not going to be through that. You've got to learn to see it. Just like the birds use their instinct and they use their intuition and they use something else that's not seen. But, at the same time, they're having the experience, but they're not recognizing it. So they've got to go through a lot of different embodiments to come to the point to where they're able to recognize it. Yes, they do basically live the reality. They don't recognize the reality. That becomes the difference. It's very interesting, as we go through all these body types and all the awareness that occupies these bodies is the same. We're all the same. There's no difference. The only difference is what we are aware of. And then trying to relate to this world, that's a huge challenge, especially because the world is so agreeable to things that do not make sense. A poisoned environment, and constantly agreeing to that. And people don't see it. They're just thinking their excuse is, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Yes, there is. You can learn to become more aware, step up, and contribute something real if you have the courage to do so. Yeah, so it is a task. It is a challenge and an adventure, Charles. And so here we are. And the so-called pretty words, anybody can use them. They're available for everybody if it's helpful to them. So, or they can go sell them, whatever. Have fun.
I always seen you talking about top-lining words like you, amen, and other top-lining words from different religions. But I haven't seen you talking about Islamic words or mantras or teachings, sutras, anything. Can you explain about it?
Well, I don't really talk about the Christian stuff or whatever. I refer to these things, but the world as it is very touchy, and you can see what's going on. And people are very emotionally involved. And when anything is said in certain areas, all of a sudden rockets and bombs go off and people are kidnapped and destroyed by a few silly words. And so whatever people are doing, if it's Christianity, Muslims, Catholics, or what have you, okay, these are just ideas, and everybody has a right to decide, and it's none of my business what they're doing. I'm not concerned because it only goes to the astral worlds, and basically all these people are tap lines. So again, I'm just here sharing something that makes sense with the true reality of life is, the all is, and what people are deciding in their personal lives, that's their business. I'm not here to, by the very fact of what I'm sharing, is not to so-called fix anything or make people smarter or more aware. No, that's their choice. That's their business. Just like what people are doing in their house and what they're eating for dinner every day. Yeah, so it doesn't matter, young man, if it's the Muslims or whatever, because these are big issues. See, what you're seeing is issues in the world. You know, if you didn't have the media out there doing certain things, the TV, the internet, whatever, if you didn't have all these things, you wouldn't even know about it. You know, it's just like in Europe before the United States was so-called discovered. Well, it was known for the longest time, but that was the idea. You know, the Europeans didn't know about the Indians, the American Indians. They didn't know, you know, and what did it matter? It didn't matter. They were just doing their life. Everybody's doing their life. Now we have media all over the world, and we have purposely created confusion. It's all purposely done. People are thinking, oh, I'm learning this and I know about this and whatever. And basically, if you watch any of the movies or shows that are on TV or on the internet or whatever, it's all about confrontation. It's all about, oh, people are spies and watch out for them, and oh, they could be doing this or that or whatever. This has all been so created that people are just afraid of almost anything in this world while they're trying to get on with their personal life. So whether it's that or anything else, it's really all the same thing. And you decide, you know, what you want to be a part of or understand. That's all up to you. But it's just another idea, and it's spelled differently. Muslim, Christianity, Lutheran, Catholic, Pope, whatever. These are just, you know, words with letters attached, and you decide what they are and the ideas accordingly. These are ideas upon ideas upon ideas upon ideas in creation, and they keep going. And for the most part, they confuse people. Again, look at nature, look at the birds, look at the dolphins, look at the animals. Do they associate with any of this? No, and they don't destroy their environment. So again, people are into issues, always wanting more and more issues, thinking that, oh, there must be something going on of an issue because this is how life is. Well, people have, again, they've been prompted to think like this. And so now it is, everybody's on edge and taking pills, trying to calm down, but yet still chasing the so-called issues. So again, it's a choice.